I trusted my husband with my inheritance, until one sentence from a lawyer destroyed his lies. I never thought my own husband would become my enemy. That thought came to me slowly, like a crack in glass. At first, it was small and easy to ignore. But once it appeared, it spread everywhere. My name is Elena. I was married to Mark for 7 years. To people outside our home, Mark was a good man. He smiled at neighbors. He opened doors for strangers. He spoke gently in public and liked to be praised for it. Everyone said I was lucky. At home, things were different. Mark did not shout much. He didn't need to. His silence was heavier than anger. When he was unhappy, the air around him felt tight, like I was holding my breath without realizing it. I learned to read his moods by the sound of his footsteps, by how he placed his keys on the table. The day my grandmother died, I felt like the ground under me disappeared. She raised me when my parents couldn't. Her house smelled like old books and warm tea. She used to hold my face and say, "You are stronger than you think." When I stood at her funeral, the sky was grey, and my hands were shaking. Mark stood beside me, his arm around my waist. His grip was firm. Almost too firm. A week later, we sat in a lawyer's office. The room was quiet except for the ticking clock on the wall. The furniture was old, dark wood, with deep scratches that looked like they had stories of their own. Sunlight came through a narrow window and landed on the desk between us. I stared at my folded hands, trying to stay calm. The lawyer cleared his throat and spoke slowly. "Your grandmother left you her estate," he said. "Property, savings, and investments. The total value is just over $1 million. My heart stopped for a second. Before I could even react, Mark squeezed my hand. I looked up at him. He was smiling. Not the soft smile he gave me on our wedding day. This one was sharp. Hungry. "That's amazing," he said quickly. "I always knew she was smart." I didn't smile. I felt numb. The money didn't feel real. All I could think about was my grandmother's voice, her laugh, her small kitchen where we shared secrets. I wanted to cry, but nothing came out. That night, our house felt different. The walls looked the same. The furniture hadn't moved. But the warmth was gone. Mark didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't sit with me on the couch like he used to. He went straight to the kitchen, poured himself a drink, and spoke like we were discussing the weather. "That money should stay in the family," he said. "You've never handled big things well." I laughed, confused. "What do you mean?" He looked at me then. His eyes were calm, but cold. "I mean, I'll take care of it." Over the next few days, Mark became busy. He made calls. He printed papers. He told me it was for protection, for taxes, for our future. He said it was temporary. He said a good wife would trust her husband. When he placed the documents in front of me, my hands trembled. "Just sign," he said softly. "It's nothing." I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to slow down. But his stare made me feel small, like I was being difficult for no reason. So I signed. That night, lying in bed beside him, I stared at the ceiling. Something inside me whispered that I had just given away more than money. I had given away my safety. And deep down, I knew Mark was no longer on my side. After I signed the papers, Mark became someone I barely recognized. At first, the changes were small. He started asking where I was going, even if I was just stepping outside. If my phone buzzed, his eyes moved to it before mine did. When I paid for groceries, he watched the receipt like he was counting every breath I took. "This is just how adults manage money," he said one evening. "You should be grateful." I told myself he was stressed. I told myself marriage had hard seasons. But deep inside, my chest felt tight all the time, like I was waiting for something bad to happen. The house grew quiet in a painful way. We stopped talking at night. Mark would sit on his laptop, typing for hours. The blue light from the screen lit his face, making him look distant and sharp. When I tried to sit beside him, he would close the screen and say he was tired. If I mentioned my grandmother, his mood changed instantly. "That's in the past," he said once. "Focus on what we have now." But I couldn't stop thinking about her. I remembered sitting at her small wooden table, my feet swinging because they didn't reach the floor. She would pour tea and watch me carefully, like she was memorizing my face. "Never let anyone rush you," she used to say. Pressure hides the truth. Those words came back to me late at night, echoing in my head. One afternoon, while cleaning the bedroom closet, I found an old envelope tucked between winter coats. My name was written on it in shaky handwriting. My grandmother's handwriting. My heart started racing. Inside was a short letter. The paper smelled faintly like lavender, just like her house. Elena, if you are reading this, I am gone. Trust yourself. And never sign anything without a lawyer you choose. My hand shook so badly I had to sit down. That evening, I asked Mark if we could visit the lawyer again. I kept my voice calm, even though my heart was pounding. Why? He asked without looking up. I just want to understand things better, I said. It's my inheritance. For one brief moment, his face changed. His jaw tightened. His eyes went dark. Then, just as fast, he smiled. Don't you trust me? He said softly. The question felt like a trap. I do, I lied. But I didn't. The next day, we sat in the same lawyer's office. The clock still ticked loudly. The sunlight still fell across the desk. But this time, I noticed everything. Mark's leg bouncing. The way he answered questions meant for me. How he leaned forward, like he was trying to block me from speaking. When the lawyer asked about the signed documents, Mark spoke quickly. She agreed to everything, he said. She wanted me to manage it. The lawyer looked at me. His eyes were calm, but sharp. Is that true, Mrs. Elena? He asked. I opened my mouth, then closed it. My voice felt stuck somewhere deep inside. Yes, I said quietly. The lawyer nodded slowly, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. He flipped through the papers again, his fingers careful, almost gentle. The room felt heavy. Mark stopped smiling. I noticed a thin line of sweat on his forehead. Then the lawyer looked up and said something that made my heart stop. Mrs. Elena, he said, did you know your husband is not listed as a beneficiary at all? Mark froze. His legs stopped bouncing. His breath caught. His face drained of color. I felt a strange mix of fear and relief rush through me. For the first time in months, the power in the room shifted. Something had been wrong all along. And now, it was starting to show. The room felt frozen after the lawyer spoke. Mark didn't move. He didn't speak. His mouth opened slightly, like he wanted to argue, but no words came out. For the first time since I had known him, he looked small. The lawyer slowly slid a thick folder across the desk toward me. Your grandmother was very careful, he said gently. She placed your inheritance in a trust. That means the money and property are legally protected. No one can control it without your clear, willing approval. I stared at the folder. My name was written on the front in neat ink. My hands hovered above it, unsure if I was allowed to touch it. Mark suddenly stood up. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. That's not true, he said, his voice sharp. She signed everything. I made sure of it. The lawyer looked up at him, calm and steady. She signed under pressure, he replied. That makes the agreement invalid. The word invalid hit the air like a crack of thunder. Mark's face turned red, then pale. His eyes moved quickly between the lawyer and me, like an animal looking for an escape. I felt my heart pounding, but something inside me was changing. The fear that had lived in my chest for months began to loosen its grip. There's more, the lawyer said. Mark's head snapped toward him. During our review, the lawyer continued, we found repeated transfers from your joint account into a private account under Mr. Mark's name. The room went silent again. My breath caught. What? I whispered. Mark shook his head fast. That's not what it looks like. But the lawyer didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. These transfers were not authorized by Mrs. Elena, he said. They've been reported. Mark's shoulders dropped. His anger drained away, leaving only panic. He looked at me then, really looked at me, as if hoping I would save him. Elena, he said quietly, I did this for us. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but my voice didn't. No, I said. You did this for you. I thought of all the nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. All the times I felt guilty for asking questions. All the moments I doubted myself instead of him. The lawyer closed the folder and pushed it fully into my hands. You are in control now, he said. Mark took a step toward me. Please, he whispered. Don't do this. I looked at him and felt something surprising. Nothing. No anger. No love. Just clarity. You stopped being my husband the moment you tried to take my future, I said. You don't get to touch it anymore. Mark said nothing. He just stood there as I walked past him. Outside, the air felt different. Lighter. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs like I hadn't done in years. The sky was clear, bright, and wide. I didn't look back. That day, I didn't just reclaim my inheritance. I reclaimed myself. And that was the revenge he never saw coming.